HTML forms are essential for creating an interactive website. They are responsible for completing various functions such as registering new users, processing orders, and carrying out surveys. Without HTML forms, it's difficult to collect information from website visitors. In this video, you'll learn all you need to know about HTML forms. Also, how do HTML forms work and why is it important to have them? To initialize HTML forms, use the form tag. It's not an empty tag and requires the closing tag. The form element wraps all other form elements inside it. It's the essential tag when you are creating HTML forms on your website, as it defines buttons, text area, and other elements of your form section. So a form element will look something like this. In this form tag, I write two important attributes. To submit an HTML forms data for processing, use the action and method form attributes. The method attribute specifies the HTTP method get or post to be used when submitting the form data. The default method when submitting form data is get. But what is the HTTP methods and what is the get and post? The two most common HTTP methods are get and post. The Hypertext Transfer Protocol, or HTTP, is designed to enable communication between client and servers. HTTP works as a request-response protocol between a client and a server. A web browser may be the client, and an application on a computer that hosts a website may be the server. A client or browser submits an HTTP request to the server. Then the server returns also contain the request content. And this was a summary of HTTP. Now what is get and post method? The get method sends data as query string and the data will be visible in the URL like this. This query string is for searching the React.js on the Udemy website. Get is better for non-secure data like query string in Udemy, because the data will be visible in the URL. And when you are using the post method, the data sent to the server with post is stored in the request body of the HTTP request, and it's a secure way to send data to the server. For example, you can use it for sending user login information, username and password to the server. The action attribute defines the action to be performed when the form is submitted. Normally, the data is sent to the web page on the server when the user clicks on the submit button. And if action attribute is omitted, the action is set to the current URL. Now I am going to explain the basic tags used in the actual HTML of forms such as input, text area, select, and option. Each forms field must have a name attribute to be submitted. If the name attribute is omitted, the data of the input field will not be sent at all. The input tag is the most used type of the HTML form tag. It can be displayed several ways depending on the type attribute. It's an empty tag and doesn't require a closing tag. Input with type text is a standard text box. This can also have a value attribute, which sets the initial text in the text box. Input with type password is similar to the text box, but the characters typed in by the users will be hidden. The input with type checkbox is a checkbox, which can be toggled on and off by the user. This can be also have a checked attribute, and this attribute doesn't require a value and makes initial state of the checkbox to be switched on as it were. The input with type radio is similar to checkbox, but the user can only select one radio button in a group. This can also have a checked attribute. The input with type submit is a button. Then when selected, will submit the form. You can control the text appears on the submit button with the value attribute. HTML submit buttons are used for sending the collected information for processing on the server. And the input with type reset defines the reset button that will reset all form values to their default values. Next element is text area. Text area is basically a large multi-line text box. The anticipated number of rows and columns can be defined with rows and cols attribute. Also, you can manipulate the size of your here's content using CSS. The text area is not an empty tag and requires the closing tag, like this. Any text you choose to place between the opening and closing tags will form the initial value of the text area. And the last element is the select. The select tag works with option tag to make the drop-down select box. When the form is submitted, the value of the selected option will be sent. This value will be text between the selected opening and closing option tag unless an explicit value is specified with the value attribute, in which case this will be sent instead. So in this example, if the first item is selected, option 1 will be sent. And if the third item is selected, third option will be sent. Similar to checked attribute of the checkbox and radio button, an option tag can also have a selected attribute to start off with one of the items already being selected. Hi guys, thank you for watching this tutorial. This tutorial is part of my HTML and CSS course, where you learn the basics of HTML and CSS that every web developer must know. If you are an absolute beginner and are looking for a fun and in-depth course that teaches you the fundamental of HTML and CSS, this course is for you. For a limited time, you can get this course with a discount using the link in the video description. Click the link and find out more about the course and enroll.